I'm Howard Niemer, and you are listening to Truth Talk News here on UnitedFMRadio.com. We had a few faux pas earlier, and, half the system basically shut down. Interestingly enough, the minute that I was about to air with my former co-host, who's joining me today, Vinny Be the Truth, who is basically living off the land in the better part of the country, keeping away from the New World Order. And he's with us today. Now, we also have had a problem making a connection with Carl Lentz, who was anxious to appear on the show, but somehow is no longer accessible. He can't get through on his phone. He's not returning calls either. So I don't know exactly if this was just sort of like a little playing us a little joke again, just to remind us how many times that this has occurred. But we can talk about that. Also, I do want to talk about Truth War, who was used to be a backline engineer for us. His name is Scott David Peters, who pled guilty to possession and distribution of child porn in a really interesting story that we'll talk about today. And I believe Vinny is joining me right now. He's calling in. So this is Vinny Be the Truth, my co-host for, at least 200 shows on We Are Change. We were members of We Are Change, Connecticut. How are you, Vin?
I'm good. Good to hear from you, Howie.
Great. And also I want to make mention we got Melissa Roy here producing, and engineering. We have Keith Much at the board, the owner of United FM Radio. Keith, thank you for helping me get this information out and giving me a voice.
No problem.
You got it. Okay, so we were talking about what happened with the situation with Carl Lentz.
Well, I've been talking to Carl for a little while now, and I've never had a problem talking with him. He always answers. We always talk. I told him about the show. He was ready to come on. I had my questions ready, and for some reason today, nothing's working. I can't get through. So.
Yeah, sorry to hear that. That's just that's really
pretty upsetting.
Very upsetting. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure that we'll be able to work out something again, hopefully real soon.
Oh, yeah.
Once I'm able to talk to him. Anybody else who's impatient, you can reach out to Carl, too. Go to his website and check out his stuff. But,
yeah, it's interesting.
Well,
you can
I'm willing to talk about whatever, and I'm just happy to be talking again with you, Howard.
Hey, yeah, Vinny. God, how many shows did we do? Like 200 shows? I mean, a lot. Right?
I don't know. It was a lot. It was a lot of fun, too.
A lot of shows. We touched on everything, from the mysteries to the ancients and to the New World Order, from start to finish. And it was great. And maybe soon we can keep it going if our schedules allow. That'd be great.
Yeah, I love this stuff. I love all of it, and the stuff with Carl Lentz is just the law aspect, which I've turned a lot of my research time into studying the law for about 8 months now. That's basically all I do my research on now.
Well, why don't we talk about that, since that was going to be the topic, and I'm sure a lot of people were tuning in here expecting to hear from Carl, which is again another one of these COINTELPRO tactics to dissuade people from checking out the sites.
Credibility
and things. Credibility, yeah, which is obvious because I shared the hell out of this. I had an awful lot of people that to get this out there, so that doesn't surprise me.
Well, unfortunately, we're not MSNBC with a lot of money backing us.
That's true. Or, also we're trying to give out the information that they don't want us. That certainly don't want to talk about Admiralty law and common law and these different the IRS and all the things we're going to be talking about. So since you do have this much knowledge, I mean, it's not Carl Lentz's knowledge. But let's spend the first part of the show talking about this, since everybody's interested in this aspect. I certainly am. I know some things about it, but you know more than I do at this point, and it would have been great to have Carl, but we'll get him back again, even if we have to pre-record it so that they can't play with us, which seems to be, unfortunately, one of the problems I have to deal with a lot. So give me an overview of this. Now, we were talking about the way that Admiralty law is really the law that's being used by the government, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the common law is the Magna Carta type law. So
Yes.
how are we being manipulated, and how can we use this common law knowledge to not be such victims and slaves and serfs to these elitist scum?
Okay, great question. That was my thing, and you remember we've done shows with sovereigns, and it's something that I've looked into for a long time. And there's a lot of people like Dean Clifford, who's spent 15 months in jail, and people who know a lot about the codes you're talking about, and they lose, and judges and people do what they want, and it hasn't always worked, and people get afraid, and then you don't want to do that. So I keep looking for new and new ways, and I came across Carl Lenz, who's actually the guy, if you look up, is the one who's actually telling Dean Clifford and famous other people how to do this, and it has to do with common law. Common law.
Explain what common law is.
Okay. See, Dean Clifford and everybody and sovereigns, they're sitting there and they're trying to use the codes, the statutes, and play the game and play in their court with their rules. And what people have forgotten and were not taught is about common law. And my understanding is that every state in America except for Louisiana still operates under common law. The Constitution was founded under common law. All of Europe except for France, which operates under Napoleonic civil code still. So the rest of Europe still is common law. Canada's common law. Australia's common law. And common law, Carl Lenz has been all over these places winning. So, I mean, the fact that he's going around winning and not in jail like a lot of others go says a lot to his credit. And
exactly, which explains why we're having a little difficulty getting him on this venue, because I like to spread this information, and this has happened to us with other people. It's happened to us with Dr. Horowitz. It's happened to us with a lot of other people that we've tried to get on initially. Eventually, we get through, but I really hope we didn't turn people off, because the information is true. I've done enough research to know that, you can use these techniques to avoid arrest and avoid getting tickets and infractions. Why don't you tell that story, what happened to you, Vinny, recently with a cop?
See, I have proof. I don't have the video, but I do have the recording, audio, which was like 20 minutes long.
We should put that on the website. Yeah, we definitely got to get that. You got to get that to me. I'll put it on the website.
But, yeah, it was just 2 weeks ago, and
right.
I just used a little bit of knowledge that I know compared to these people, and I was able to get the cop really nervous. He had to call for backup. The supervisor and the chief of police, I got to come down, and I refused to do anything that the police officer wanted. I never waived any rights or complied with anything he said. I just talked, friendly, and in my head I was thinking, just don't incriminate yourself. Now, just to add to it a little bit quick why it happened is, I'm doing things with my car, and I'm trying to get plates and all the stuff, and I wanted, I call it the matrix. I don't even want to say it's law, because by law you don't really need to, but do I want to deal with the headaches, when at this point maybe I just want to work for someone and make money, so let me just pay for the plates and this and that.
Right.
So that's what I was doing. Because I already tried to talk to them on the phone. I have those phone calls too. The mayor, everybody I was calling in my town, trying to explain how I was going to be taking my property from point A to point B. I don't need a license, plates, or anything. And
right.
They were threatening me, and it would have...
Yeah, of course. They think you're nuts. They think you're nuts. They think this guy's crazy.
Yeah, and they were just like, we catch you, we're going to do this and that. And
right.
So I'm thinking in my head, again, knowing that it does work if you do the paperwork right and do it, take it to the courts, you will win. But it might take 2-3 years. So to me, I was just like, all right, I'm I'm getting the plates and this and that, so I could make this, these Federal Reserve notes to pay for things. But I don't have the inspection sticker on my window. I had the 10-day thing, and I'm having problems getting the car fixed.
Right.
So I don't have the inspection sticker. So that's the reason why when I'm driving by, the cop sees he don't see the inspection sticker. So he comes, he rides up behind me, follows me for a couple miles, pulls me over. And when he pulled me over, I was sitting there with my recorder and my script. So the cop comes up to the window. I had my cousin with me, which definitely helps if you have someone with you that's recording, so you feel a little bit more comfortable that I'm not going to get choked and ripped out of the car and everything disappears. There's no witness.
Well, what did he say? He said, "Where's your inspection sticker?" What did he say?
Yeah. Well, I didn't even give him a chance to say anything. He walked right up to the window, and I'm sitting there with the script and the tape recorder. So he sees it right away, and he's like, "Oh, what are we doing there? What's that?" And I said, "Oh, this is for if you want to enter into business with me." And he right away got quiet and said, "Well, I'm going to need your license, registration, things like that."
Right.
So I immediately said, I said something like, "Well, what is the reason that you feel that I committed a crime?" And he said, "Well, I didn't see the sticker in the window." And I said, "Well, that's a code. That's a statute and code. That only applies to if you entered into contract. That's UCC code and this and that." So he looks at me and he says, "No, you have to, the state of New York and this and that, and you're required." And I said, "No, again, that's not the law. That's a code. That's contract." I said, if you're saying I committed a crime, then I am required to give you my information. I said, "Are you saying that I committed a crime?" And of course he didn't answer. He said, "You have to have an inspection sticker, sir. You see, I have an inspection sticker." And I said, "Yeah, you are required because you're doing commercial business and you're required to have one. I'm not doing commercial business and I'm not required to have one." He said, "Well, you have to give me your information." And I said, "Okay, again, I have information, but I'm not giving it to you until you tell me what crime I committed." He said, "Well, you're refusing to give me your information." And I said, "No, I'm not refusing. I have all of it sitting right here in my lap. I have a driver's license, insurance, and all this stuff. But I'm not giving it to you until you tell me what crime I committed. This isn't Nazi Germany, and I don't have to show you my papers when I didn't commit a crime."
Excellent.
So he said he kind of like walked away from the car.
He must have freaked out. How could these people not be complying? How could this guy not be complying? It's like,
yeah.
How could he not be complying?
Why am I not bowing?
Why are you not bowing and licking his boots? Like everybody shivers and shakes when the cops pull them over. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I had the confidence because when you have a camera and you have witnesses, you definitely you make them a lot more weary. Because I've been messing with this for a while, and when it's just me and I don't have a camera, these guys get violent, and it doesn't go good. I mean, then I have to go and deal with it in court. But so with this, and for anybody listening or anybody who wants to get into this, you have to understand that everybody's different and every cop is different. And he made it clear at the end of it that if it was a different cop, things could have went bad for me. But you have to understand, and if you have the proper things for security purposes, then have fun with this. And that's what I figured. Let me have some fun with this and see what works and what I could do.
And you got away with it. So then what happened after? What happened with all this resistance? What was the result of him? Since you're not giving him any information, he called his superiors, right?
Yeah. So I said, great. You need to get your superior, and legal help and this and that. So he's sitting there, and he's waiting, and he's still trying to talk to me. And I'm just like, yeah, it's inspected. I just I don't have the sticker. And he was like, well, do you have it on you? And I did, but it's expired. So I'm not going to self-incriminate myself. So I'm sitting there just playing the word game. So now I'm like, well, maybe, I don't know. It could be at my house. It could be in the car. I don't know. But I said, by the way, am I under arrest or am I free to go? And he says, no, you're not free to go. I'm detaining you. I said, okay, you guys like to say that that's different, but it's the same thing. I said, am I free to go? He said, no, you're not. I said, okay, well then at this time I take it that I'm under arrest and that I have the right to remain silent and I have the right to a lawyer. I said, so at this point I don't have to talk to you and I'm not going to hand you any documents that you could use against me. So he sat there and said, well, you giving me the documents would help me. Would help me, would help you, he said. And I said, no. I said, everything I give you can and will be used against me in a court of law. You guys aren't here to help me. I said, you're trying to build a case on me. I said, I'm not going to help you build a case on me. And he said, that's great. What type of lawyer are you talking to? And I was like, I said, he's a retired sheriff deputy. I said, I have all the stuff here. I said, I'm trying to protect my rights. I said, I've tried to talk to you guys. I do what you guys say, and you guys still give me tickets. And I said, and sometimes you've even framed me. I said, so I'm not going to be helping you make a claim against me. He said, well, you have to do this, and you have to have the sticker. I said, if that's what you feel, write the ticket, and then I'm going to take you to court, and I'm letting you know that you're going to deal with me for the next 2-3 years, and I'm going to take you to federal court, and I will win. And he was like, over an inspection sticker? And I was like, over anything. I said, I've been trying to call you guys and tell you guys that this is what's going to happen. And so he just walks away frustrated. So then the sergeant and the police chief came over. So the police chief comes over and right away shakes my hand. And I said, oh, how you doing? I've been trying to call you guys. I'm glad I get to talk to you finally. So he's like, oh, you've been trying to contact me? And I said, yeah, your secretaries, everybody laughs at me, hangs up on me. You guys say this is sovereign nonsense. I said, I don't really understand any of that stuff. I said, I'm talking about my rights.
Right.
And as a man, I have rights.
I was wondering where I was, yeah.
And I said, I asked this guy, and I asked him, the police, because to go back real quick, just like how they're trying to build a case against you when they pull you over, knowing the legal tricks that I know now in common law and talking as a man, I was trying to build a case on him the whole time.
Right.
So that's how I looked at it as fun. I looked at it as like I'm a cop now trying to ask you questions to get you trapped. Now I have you on tape doing something wrong that I can now use against you. So I was asking questions. I'm like, oh, I'm a man. You're a man, right? And he just wouldn't answer. Yeah. Because if he would have said he's a man and not a police officer, it's totally different.
It is, right.
See, because a police officer, in legal terms, basically they don't do any wrong. A police officer is just doing his job. But see, the man, he does wrong. Joe Smith did wrong, not the police officer. Mm-hmm. The man did wrong, and that's how you have to go against them.
Interesting. Wow. But many times the man is the man, like when they beat you to death, club you like Rodney King and shit.
Yeah. But see, unfortunately, this whole trick that's gone on that we're all trying to figure out is this fictitious character with the all capital letters legal for us.
Right, the straw man.
Because when you get into common law and the real law,
Mm-hmm.
and what the law has always been, a corporation or a fictitious person can't do anything to man.
Right.
The state of New York can't harm man. You know, so what they have to do is, when you're in court and you're dealing with all this stuff, you're not standing as a man. You're the legal person, and they take it as birth certificate, driver's license, any of this stuff,
right?
Or just by you verbally agreeing, you
see.
are now a part of that company, that corporation.
It's like the jurisdiction. It's the difference of the two different.
Yeah.
The jurisdiction is what's different.
And see, here's some of the ways I explain it to people. I have fun with it. Like, let's talk about like the Yankees in Boston, and like when Johnny Damon, and he had the big beard and the long hair, right? So when he goes to play for the Yankees, and he signs the contract, and the contract says you can't have a beard, you can't have long hair, or whatever. You signed the contract to play, you can't have a beard. Now Johnny Damon can't turn around and say, hey, I have rights as a man. There's no law that says I have to shave my beard. Or my religion says I don't have to shave my beard. Because they're not forcing you to be a Yankee.
Right.
So if you don't want to shave, go play for someone else.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I look at the United States corporation.
Well, that's what
they
it is.
They basically are saying you're an employee.
Well, yeah, no, you're cattle. You're literally everybody's. You're traded.
Hello?
You have a value.
Yeah.
You have a value on the stock exchange. You're actually a traded commodity. Our entire fraudulent, this whole debt system that's created by the Federal Reserve crime syndicate and the banks, this whole thing is all for use for that purpose of using the people as cattle, and interest rates and loans are all dependent upon how much they could tax the people and take from the people, and there's a value to you, and there's
a value to your car. That's why you register it to your state.
Right.
So now the state says that that's theirs, and that money is value that the state has.
Yeah, that's right. Same thing here, especially with the car taxes. I mean, it's crazy what they do with the car tax, isn't it? It's just nuts.
It's amazing the legal system that they've created. These people aren't stupid, and they've had thousands of years to perfect it.
And it's great to figure out a way that we can work against it. So this is all important. Yes. This is really, really important shit.
Yeah, that's why this is basically I've been obsessed with for months. I felt like this was the best thing for me to try to find a solution. You know, like we've always talked, the nonviolent way.
Yeah, I believe there is, because there's a few things. After the break, I was going to play the audio from a video that I just recently put up. Goes into this whole thing about the way that contract law can help us as well. I did a little research on my own there. I'll play that a little bit later. It's just it's incredible, because we don't realize how much we're playing into their hands with everything that we do. And that there's a straw man, and that we could there are techniques you could use to actually abolish all your debt and do all sorts of things. And but we'll go into that after the break. So
yeah, anything. That's
great.
It's good to be talking again to you.
It's so good to be talking with you again, Vinny, because we'll definitely be going off into some interesting territory, as we always did. But let's try to stay on topic for this portion. And again, you're watching. Listen, I keep saying watching. You're listening to Truth Talk News here on United FM Radio. I'm joined with my co-host Vinny B. The Truth, and we got Keith behind the board and Melissa producing. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Vinny, we're going to play that 7-minute video, so we got about 7 minutes, but stay near the phone.
Okay, cool.
Oh, okay.
I love the Bible. There's a place to be afraid. There's another chance on you and love. You need it by your side. Just let it know. Your eyes when you dream, and I'm awake. Into your
As economic and social chaos increases virility, the iron fist of government and the black boot of tyranny will continue its slow incremental war on we the people. If you keep up with the treaties like the Trans-Pacific Partnership, NAFTA, GATT, and others, as I do, you have noticed that the nations of the world, especially Western nations, have been incrementally surrendering their sovereignty over the past several decades to the United Nations, with piecemeal trade deals that have left economies purged by the IMF bank nation killers. While the UN is not actually a governing body, world government is here. We are living in it, subjected to treaties that give power to the UN to act as a global military and policing force to keep world peace, which of course is and has always been doublespeak for making war and raping resources. Sadly, there will be more violence and brutality in the days and years to come. However, there is a solution to the problem of tyrannical governments that has nothing to do with protesting, civil war, or armed rebellion. If you are sick and tired of Washington's corrupt and powerful political machine and its fixed voting system, as I am, there is a solution. And the globalists themselves have buried it in these treaties. It is a way out, and a way to take back our country from these hegemonic parasites. Yes, we can take back our country from the transformers. Yes, we can come out from under the boot of tyranny. Yes, we can exercise the right of self-determination, as is our right in international law, guaranteed by treaty. The Organization of United Nations International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, Part 1, Article 1 reads, all peoples have the right of self-determination. By virtue of that right, they freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economic, social, and cultural development. Definition of self-determination from Cornell University Law School. Self-determination denotes the legal right of people to decide their own destiny in the international order. Self-determination is a core principle of international law, arising from customary international law, but also recognized as a general principle of law and enshrined in a number of international treaties. For instance, self-determination is protected in the United Nations Charter and the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights as a right of all peoples. This is an age-old principle, and it is not complicated. The Law of Nations, or the Principle of Lateral Law, 1758, written by Emmerich de Vattel, Book 1, Chapter 1, states that nations or sovereign states may reform the government. Quote, if any nation is dissatisfied with the public administration, it may apply the necessary remedies and reform the government. But observe that I say the nation, for I am very far from meaning to authorize a few malcontents or incendiaries to give disturbance to their governors by exciting murmurs and seditions. None but the body of a nation have the right to check those at the helm when they abuse their power. When the nation is silent and obeys, the peoples are considered as approving the conduct of their superiors, or at least finding it supportable. And it is not the business of a small number of citizens to put the state in danger under the pretense of reforming it. This is about learning how to self-govern as a free people, as the Founding Fathers intended. Read The Law of Nations. A link can be found on howardnema.com. A link to the article, The Rights of Self-Determination and the New World Order. It really may be one of the most important books you've ever read. For instance, why are we referred to as citizens? Do you know what a citizen is? And why are you a citizen? According to the definition section of laws, it is because we are all incompetent and insane, ladies and gentlemen. The incompetent can't manage their own affairs, and you'd have to be crazy to want to continue under these circumstances. So if you're a citizen, you are deemed insane and incompetent. A political device capitalized by the communist left. You need a nanny. U.S. Code 11 states, in determining the meaning of any act of Congress, unless the context indicates otherwise, the words insane and insane person shall include every idiot, insane person, and person non corpus mentis. The words person and whoever include corporations, companies,
this is what you were talking about,
associations, firms, partnerships, societies, and joint stock companies, as well as individuals. Notice, they put it right in the very front of their law book, in the definition section.
Right
Research
before your
all this
eyes.
information. Please, you really have to take the time to do a little bit of homework here, folks. But it's worth it. You need to understand why the world is going the direction it's going, why society is changing so much, why culture is changing so much, why morality is changing so much, or what's acceptable and should be acceptable. These things have to be brought to the attention because, yes, we as a people can change all of these things, but we need to understand that there is a problem. Despite what your political affiliation is, ladies and gentlemen, if you're an American, you have to protect the Republic, not your political viewpoints or special interests. That makes you technically a traitor. So free this Republic from the tyranny that it's under and restore the constitutional principles our Founding Fathers prescribed to. They were brilliant men who knew about the tyrannies of government.
They were also Satanists.
And on Truth Talk News, I cover this
Some of
so
them.
much as far as how history is repeating itself, how, the things that have occurred in the past, socialism and communism never work. It always leads to totalitarianism. It always leads to mass murder and genocide. I mean, this is the truth. That's what the last 100 years has provided, 100 million people murdered for socialism and communism. Fascism. This is what we got. Are you sane or insane? Maybe we are insane. Anyone who puts up with ever-increasing tyranny is certainly in a psychosis of deep denial. Some things to think about. Wake up. Legalize freedom. And get the U.S. out of the UN.
Yeah, definitely get the U.S. out of the UN. What do you think about
Great
that?
video.
Danny? Thanks. Yeah.
Great video. It is so many things you touched on that are so important. You were totally right about self-governing.
That's
And
what
I've
this
seen
is
so
all
many
about.
things where even Obama and people talk about that it's about self-governing. That's why they have to do so much to mind control, because they're making you choose this.
Right, it's almost as if it's a requirement. They have to trick you enough to get your support so they can get their agendas through, because technically it's very, very true, 100%, that we, the people, truly have the power. We have the power. With all their machines,
like you said, they look at it
and all
as
their weapons.
you're a child.
Correct.
And
We are
until
children.
you stand as a man or a woman, you're going to follow mommy and daddy's rules.
Exactly.
Until you realize and are able to stand as a man or a woman you're not going to be able to self-govern, and you're going to hurt other people.
Well, that's the whole cause of the socialism. It's like William Cooper said it, that a socialist is like a kid that left school and left the home and found the world a little too tough, and he comes back home to live with his parents because he doesn't want to deal with it. It's like they're children. They're children.
Yeah.
And so, in a great respect, this is addressing that whole system that they've created the people to be like children. So that they have to have this nanny state, which they've continued to grow and postulate since before the turn of the last century, in the 1890s, 1880s, the rise of Zionism and that whole concept and the whole idea of socialism grew in that period of time.
It was created by Karl Marx, the Jesuit.
Yes, Karl Marx.
And when you look into this stuff, Howard, which I just can't help but see all the time in everything I look at, these are all people that are trained at Jesuit colleges by Jesuit priests.
That's true, and then also, of course,
they created communism.
Well, absolutely. The Illuminati. It's clearly noted that the Rothschilds financed Marx and Engels and came that whole thing. And he was a writer for the New York World newspaper, and it goes back to that whole time period in the 1860s. And it just led its way through the political Zionism, grew out of it, but the books that were really reflecting of it was the true book, which is the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. Is not some sort of propaganda piece. No. It's real, but it's a craftily written piece where it makes it look very anti-Semitic, or it appears that the Jews are these evil people, when really the Jews should be replaced with the word Illuminati, and those that wish to rule the world, those at the highest levels of Freemasonry and the highest levels of the secret societies, many of which, and Skull and Bones and others. So
it's a bloodline thing.
It's a bloodline, right? Absolutely.
And it's not just Jewish, just like Cooper.
It's not just Jews. Absolutely. In fact, there are Jews,
just like
but
John
less. There
Todd
are less.
Even used to say too.
Correct. There are less
He's like,
Jews.
Look at us. My family's Irish.
Yeah. Yeah. There are less Jews than they make it out to be. But again, that's something like also this whole sort of urban legend, if you want to call it that, or the way that people perceive it. But the fact of the matter is that the Rothschild family, as out of all of them, wealth and power are important. But when you that's individual wealth. They're the wealthiest family on earth. I think they're worth hundreds of trillions. I forget how many hundreds, but hundreds of trillions. More they could pay off the debts of most of the nations of the world. But of course they wouldn't. So,
they're spending a lot of money to keep it that way.
Exactly. And that's how they've gotten their money, and this collectivism that we're under. So they're a big force behind it. And the royal families, of course, the 13 bloodline families, the McDonald family, the DuPont family, there's many of them, the Kennedy family, but the Kennedys have fallen out of favor as a bloodline.
Well, because there was a lot of them who stayed close to God and tried to do the right thing. Well,
that's the thing. This whole movement away from God has really been a real serious situation. I recently been posting stuff on Exposing Satanic World Government, Laurie Alexander's page, and Harry, by the way, he was ill. I'm great. Harry Link, a good friend of mine, was very sick, and I'm glad that he's on the mend there at truthbroadcastnetwork.com. I used to do a show there on that network. And this thing just came across here with Keith and Melissa at United FM, because they literally live around the block and have a great station here, play rock music all day, and give a lot of truth out on their own, and tackle local events of significance where their rights are being, infringed upon. So it's a good place. And moving along here, we know what's going on. There's no doubt about it. There's a collectivist, socialist agenda to homogenize the world into this melting pot, take away the wealth of the West. Well, we know the Western nations, building up the East and building up India and China most specifically to a certain degree, and then continue the depopulation of Africa and continue the depopulation of the wars between the Muslims and the Jews and the West and the Christians. getting back to the whole thing with Albert Pike and the Masons, the Freemasons, and the Third World War, which was a letter that was written. The earliest known time that it was revealed was in the 1920s, so we know that it existed at least at that period of time. And it talks about the Third World War. Forget about the Second World War that it predicted as well, but the Third World War, it was
East versus West.
East versus West, and it was also the concept of political Zionists and the Muslims destroying one another.
Yeah, annihilation.
Annihilation, and that's really what's being set up here, and that's a big thing for people to understand. I mean, the rise of radical Islam is not just the CIA, although ISIS and Al-Qaeda, Al-Qaeda, these are all, very, very influenced by the intelligence agencies in our country and the Mossad and also the British intelligence. They're doing strange things to move this world order forward. They want the global chaos. They want from out of this chaos will come order ab chaos, order out of chaos. But it's not just them. The blowback from this is that they've really radicalized Islam. So the easiest thing to see is why are they allowing this to happen? Because they are allowing it to happen. They're allowing millions and millions of Christians and Jews and Muslims to be beheaded with no response, basically at all. And you're allowing this whole thing to continue. Meanwhile, we know where they're being radicalized in mosques, but the mosques, they have then the First Amendment works. Then we can't go against their rights to freedom of religion, and we can't spy on them in their mosques and whatever else. So you see how the subjective use of the Constitution or abandonment of it has a great deal to do with this agenda for the world government, and that's why I covered it in that article, which I read. That's really an article I wrote, made that video. The article is not posted yet, so if you're looking for it right now, you won't find it, but it'll be up there today, later. And truly, it's a disastrous perfect storm, because we have the financial crisis that's looming, and if anyone doesn't see what's happening in Greece and thinks that they're just watching a movie and it's not coming this way, doesn't see what the IMF nation killers are doing. They crush countries, they destroy economies, and they steal the resources and assets of that country, like the water and the electric generation and things of that nature, continue to collectivize. Then you have all these lies talking about global warming, and we have to tax you for your carbon footprint. I mean, this is all additional ways to just literally siphon the wealth of the middle class and create a neo-feudal two-class society. Wow, we've really covered a lot, or at least I have. I don't know. So I'm sort of getting tired of saying it, but it is the truth. It's what's happening. It's over and over again. Nothing's changed, but hey, hasn't it changed a lot, though, Vinny, in the last... We haven't done a show in 3 years. Wouldn't you say that it's been, like, unbelievable what's happened in the last 3 years? And how this has moved faster and faster?
Yeah, but I also think it's amazing how much more people there are that...
Awakening, yeah.
That are awake.
Yeah. That's true. That's true, too.
That are looking for this knowledge, that have their eyes open, that are distrusting the news and government now.
Well, they really need to, since there's so much at stake. When we talk about this whole agenda they have, the silent weapons for quiet wars, they're poisoning us. It's just a really disgraceful, attack upon us.
Well, that's why I think it's so important to figure out the legal way to self-govern.
Yeah.
And to, as Carl calls it, separate yourself, your person from the man.
Well, you see, look what happened to that lady in Florida. She's been off the grid for like years and years and years. Fox News does a report and says that she's been living off the grid, and they hit her with all these. They hit her with all these eviction notices on her own property because she's not using electric, and she's collecting water, and she's not using the city sewer and all this other stuff. Just because they want to, it's all about control. It's all about
and that's why
control.
Wouldn't it be great for someone like Carl, or for all of us, to figure out how to fill out the paperwork and laugh at these people in court and say, I'm self-governing, this doesn't apply to me.
Right. That's exactly what we need to do.
As long as you don't hurt another man or woman or damage another person or property, there's nothing you've done wrong. And all this other stuff is just code and nonsense. And it only applies if you're contracted to them. And if we could all figure out how to do this. Now, the philosophy to me was easy, but that's why I reached out to Carl, was the paperwork.
Right.
Now, that's another problem that a lot of people that get into this do wrong. People go into court, and I was going to have Carl bring this up, but I'll mention this story. I think a lot of listeners will find this interesting. There was a guy named Freeman Montana, and he went into court. I don't remember what it was for, but he gets up and he starts with the sovereign stuff. And he starts saying, you got a yellow fringe around the flag, you're a part of this or that, and I don't have to. He went into the sovereign stuff, and the judge basically just flipped and was like, you're going to answer my question. He rips off his robe, he kicks the flag to the floor, and he takes a stool and he goes up and he sits in front of him as a man.
No kidding.
And said, I'm not a part of no Illuminati or the clergy or any of this conspiracy. I'm a man. Now answer the question, guilty or not guilty. The guy still refused. They sent him to jail, and he died there a couple months later.
Really?
So trying to go into their court with their rules and start trying to play your own game, they're destroy you.
Mm-hmm.
So what you have to do is you have to do paperwork. And that's what it took me a while to figure out. And that's what Carl Lentz tells Dean Clifford and everybody what they did wrong. So what you do is when you set up the paperwork for whatever, let's say you get a ticket or anything, you're supposed to, within 3 days, you want to just right away the next day. And you go and you fill out paperwork. So let's say you get a complaint. And that's what you get from these people. And when you look at this stuff, you don't get a claim. Nobody's claiming anything against you. A fictitious corporation is making a complaint about you. Then you think that that means something. So you go and you play court and you get screwed. So when you fill out the paperwork and you go there and you say, I'm going to be standing as a man, and I'm making a claim against that man or woman who's saying something about me. Now when it comes to court, what has more weight? A complaint, which means complaining, whining. They're whining about you. A corporation is whining. Or does man who's making a claim? Man who's making a claim goes first. And you sit there and you this is where you play into the game where you say, and this could work for so many things. This could work for people that are having problems with foreclosures, owing debt, so many different things. You go in there and you say, who is the man or woman who is claiming this? And they ain't ever going to come forward. The IRS agent's going to try to come forward, but the man or woman isn't.
Right.
That's the key.
Well, that's the whole thing. On the flip side, we're gonna take a break in a couple of minutes. On the flip side, I'd like to go into that with the IRS, and then we can close out talking about Truth War in the early days and this whole thing that happened with Scott David Peters. Unbelievable turn of events. Ronnie, I spoke with Ronnie from Australia. You remember Ronnie, of course, from Outside the Margins.
I was going to ask you about it.
Yeah, we're going to get a show together, and of course you'll be on, and we'll get them all to just reiterate this whole horror and to put a closing chapter on it. But it was an unbelievable story, ladies and gentlemen, regarding basically a schizophrenic, really troubled guy that's also basically a pedophile or pled guilty to child pornography, and he actually worked for us. And it's a long story, but terrible story, but an important one to get out. So even if it's a friend or someone that's really close to you, you got to always do the right thing, and we did. And that's really going to be an interesting story to listen to. So stay tuned for the last segment in the show, and we'll come back right after this break with more information on the IRS and how we can fuck them since they keep fucking us. Let's get to it.
Let's do it.
UnitedFMRadio.com. If you aren't already a fan of us on Facebook, we highly recommend becoming one. The best way for you to interact with us is via our Facebook page, where we encourage likes, comments, and shares. So go there now and give us a like and suggest our page to your friends. Our page is located at facebook.com/United Radio FM. Again, that's facebook.com/United Radio FM.
Looking for a game system or games? Or maybe a piece of stressed or unstressed furniture at a reasonable price? Or maybe you're a Kiss fan and you're looking for that perfect memorabilia piece that you've searched all over for but still haven't found? Well, Second Chance Thrift Shop just might be the place to find your next piece of furniture or Kiss memorabilia piece while supplies last. Second Chance Thrift Shop offers different items from clothes at reasonable prices to electronics and game systems and games at very low prices. But that's not all they offer. They also offer jewelry and books and other finds at very low prices. So stop on by the Second Chance Thrift Shop located at 523 Main Street in Torrington, Connecticut, across from Walgreens. Come on down and find your hidden treasure today.
United FM, powered by
1.21 gigawatts. What the hell is a gigawatt?
colorhost.co. Check out colorhost.co for all your streaming and web hosting solutions today.
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
Evil eyes behind their smile.
You still there?
Yep.
All right, he'll be back in a minute.
Okay.
Well, a few. We're not on the main broadcast, but everyone can still hear us on live stream.
Okay.
So just hang on, he'll be right back, okay?
Gotcha.
All right.
Vinny, you there? Yeah. Cool. All right, let's get back when we can. We're back. I'm Howard Nima. Thank you for listening to Truth Talk News today. I have my co-host, Vinny Be the Truth, as a guest, and hopefully we can start doing this a little more frequently, Vinny. It was great so far, and we've been hitting the New World Order pretty hard today, giving out information on how they're keeping us slaves as, servants so they can tax, how they can use an alternative actual person or an alternative entity, which is what we play into their games. The IRS, of course, is a good example of this. And what do we do with the IRS? How do we handle the IRS?
Okay. Well, honestly, there is no silver bullet. But there's many ways you could have fun and that work. Even with the call-in stuff, when you go to court or anything, they're going to question you. You have to be able to talk like a man or woman. And that's really what it comes down to. There's lots of things you could do to make it tough for them. Some of the things is like I seen causing harm. Now, the law says that a corporation or a state or a government, no, they can't cause harm to man.
Right.
So even just the fact that if you showed the IRS, hey, you're saying that I have to pay you this, well, that would cause harm to me and my family. That's one trick that people use. Now, the easiest one is what Carl Lentz, his mother was an IRS agent.
How interesting.
So that's definitely why he knows a lot about that and was able to have a head start with some of this law stuff. And his mother told him, and he says too, where they don't make a claim. Like I was saying before, these fictitious entities don't make claims. The IRS does not make a claim. They have absolutely no proof that they're swearing to. They're making a complaint. And once you sit there and you send them a notice, and do it like Carl says, where you want to be nice to these people. And that's what I did with the cops. I smiled and I laughed. I didn't get angry or yell. Now, when you think of court, think of what the word means, courting. You're trying to court them like you're trying to date someone. You're trying to get them to like you. So the IRS or whoever, don't sit there and yell. Sit there and say, oh, that's great, Mr. Wonderful IRS agent. I see you're saying that I owe this. Can you please send me the claim and the proof? And I'd be glad to pay you. But they're never going to give you. Because they can't. Because how the hell do they know what you exactly owe down to the penny? They don't. They never will, unless you sit there and tell them. So if you just sit there and say, show me the proof and I'll pay. So you got to understand some of these words. It's a lot. It's a lot. You're not going to do it in a day or two.
Oh, no, absolutely. And that's why I was hoping to have Carl on, but we'll get him on again or...
Yeah, this is something we have to do a lot.
We'll do a lot.
And people have to do a lot of their own research.
Yep, keep talking about it because it's an immense subject. And
little words that we've been taught one way by TV and society to mean something don't mean what it means when you're standing in court or dealing with legal stuff. Just like the one I was telling you, Howard, and for all you listeners, there's a difference between legal and lawful. And there's just so many things where you don't think that there's much of a difference, but it's everything. You could do illegal stuff, but that doesn't mean you broke the law. You didn't do anything unlawful. See, there's a difference with all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So the IRS and all these things, there's lots of tricks, and lots of people win. But going into their courts and playing their games and trying to use their codes and their statutes or the Constitution even. Like we were saying before, Howard, when you did the 7-minute clip, you as a man don't need anybody. You self-govern.
Right.
So, there's just so much, Howie.
Oh no, it's deep as hell. Yeah, it keeps going. But it's true. They're putting all of these. They're constantly raising taxes. They're constantly causing fines. They'll now they'll fine you.
When you
they'll
say
fine
they,
you for keeping the
state, the IRS
state,
agent, the
yeah.
police officer,
Right, they.
the code inspector.
Exactly.
But see, they're all men and women.
That's true.
And when you do the paperwork and you go after the man or the woman, they back down.
That's interesting. Keep that in mind, everybody. Go after the man or woman that's actually charging you or whatever. But that's
because
the whole
these
point.
people don't have any proof, Howard.
Of course not. Well, what about the thing with the seatbelt violation? You get like $50 or $200 or like cell phone. The $150 for your you're talking on your cell phone. I mean, these are
not crimes.
They're not crimes, exactly.
These are illegal.
They're illegal, but they're not crimes.
But it's not the law.
And then people
it's not unlawful.
No, see, then there's the whole.
It's not unlawful to smoke weed or do drugs or anything.
I know, technically, right? I know it's not unlawful to drink
it's
and
illegal,
drive.
Though.
It's not unlawful to drink and drive either. But if you have an accident, then there's a culpability. See, it's like the whole idea of not allowing people to do things and live their life. If there's a resulting harm to property or person, that's a different story. But you don't include.
Then you have to answer.
But yeah, anything else should go though. It's like you can do whatever you want as long as that doesn't occur.
As long as you don't hurt another person or property.
But that's not what's going on here. 70% of the people in prison are people in prison because they broke laws and that they didn't harm.
Not laws. Codes.
Codes. They broke codes.
They violated codes.
They violated codes and they're in prison. 2.3 million people. 70% of that.
For victimless crimes.
Victimless crimes. That's right. That's absolutely true.
See?
Absolutely true, Vinny. We know. We did enough
And when people learn how to show that there's no victim, and you've caused no harm, the game's over.
Mm-hmm.
Here's another one. Let me give a real quick one, Howard, and then then I'm done with this.
Cool.
Is the word shall. Get into shall and must. And this with the cops, I have them even tape recorded. They're idiots. They don't understand the law. They sit there and say that you're required to do these traffic things. But whenever I tell people and you look, the codes say shall. You shall have a driver's license. You shall do this or that. Well, when you go into court and the police officer who said you were going 70 or you were doing this or that, here's another little trick. You say, okay, can someone tell me what the law is or the code or whatever that's saying that, I did something wrong? And the minute the prosecutor or the police officer sits there and says, the state of Connecticut says you shall stop or whatever, you just say, okay, judge, you heard it. You know the language. Shall. I shall go worry about that. I shall go do that. I shall go get a driver's license when the New World Order takes over and says that I must. Because it doesn't say must or required. Because they don't have power over man or woman.
Right. But that's what they're working for. See, that's why we do.
They don't have it yet, though.
I know they're working for it.
Civil code isn't the code yet.
I know they're working.
The New World Order did not take over yet.
I know.
And we should take advantage of common law until they take it over.
They're working on it.
Then they will change the books, and it won't say shall no more. It's going to say you must.
Must. And
but it doesn't. It says shall now.
It still says shall.
Because they don't have power.
They don't have power. They have perceived power, and they can do things, and they can cause influences, and they can influence events. But you're right. We still, the people, what we always did. Vinny, like I said, it's like the people. We've always had the power. If we all were awake,
Yes.
they would never get away with this. They would be hiding from us. Thankful to make a few pennies off of us.
And that's why the founding father,
Instead
I
of
forget
millions.
which one it was, but when they asked him, what do we have here, what you create? And he was like, a republic as long as you could keep it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, it's
You
the
gotta
same
fight
thing
for
to
it.
this day.
No, it's
You
true.
have rights if you exercise.
Yeah,
you
but
know?
if you don't fight for your rights, they'll take them away as quickly as you were given them. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, the point is
And-
that our rights were given to us by God or the Creator, so that's what makes it
That's
different.
right, not a government.
Not a government. So the government can't do anything regarding our rights. We are truly sovereign as children
Unless
of
you
God.
think that you are under their authority and you agree to be under their company.
Unless you submit to them, right? Exactly. Exactly.
But again, let someone come in and prove that. Let someone come into court and say that I am an
Right.
employee. That would be my argument. You're saying, oh, well, I had a birth certificate. Okay, well, maybe I was. Maybe back then I was, but who's saying that I'm a U.S. citizen right now?
Well, who could tell
Who's saying
now?
I was operating under
Anybody
that?
could be. You go to a voting booth. You don't have to show them who you are. You know.
Yeah.
It's just the whole country's look, everything. The New World Order is in high gear. You got the Pope saying, "Don't worry about gay marriage. Don't fester on that. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about we should all share the wealth and give. Why doesn't the church give up some of their money to the people if they want to spread the wealth so much? I mean, it's such mind control. It works though. Oh, the Pope and the gay people love the Pope now. It's just unreal, man. It's unreal. And listen, hey, look, I always said the whole idea of this changing of institutions and destroying history like this, the Confederate flag and all this stuff they want to do, and canceling Dukes of Hazzard. I like Daisy Duke's ass. I really want to see that. I'm an American. I have a right to see that. Whatever. My point is that we all have a right to see things, and the idea is just because you don't like something, you can't throw it down the memory hole. But when it comes to changing institutions, thoughts, and culture, and that's indoctrination, and that's what's happening here. I mean, all the people that are in the homosexual community, God bless you, man. You want to be gay? Go ahead, be gay. You should have all the rights of any married couple, but you can't really call it a marriage. I mean, that's not what marriage is. It never was. And how do you just change something that never was? It's all psychological warfare. It really is. It's all cultural divide and conquer tactics. And now you're a racist or you're a homophobe. And I'm not a homophobe. Why do you have to? Why you have to make things right for me. I have to go to a Catholic church or a Christian church and get married. I have to use a Christian store and they have to make a cake for me or they'll fine me. I mean, this is just really some fucked up shit.
Yeah, it's just like you said. It's the divide and conquer.
It's divide and
get
conquer.
anything for people to argue about.
Yeah.
And what happens is everybody's so scared to talk and say what they feel and offend anybody, so everybody just avoids each other.
You're right. And it's sad as hell because this is a great country and it still can be a great country, but they're destroying it. They're not by making everything so politically correct. I mean, it's ridiculous, I don't know. Maybe
George Carlin said it a long time ago, and he was pretty funny about it.
Yeah, he did. He said it right. We should play that clip. That's a great clip. Hey, actually, Keith, you should pull that clip up before the show's over and play that one. George Carlin on the New World. Carlin had so much to say. George Carlin on the New World Order. It's like a 3-minute clip.
Political correctness.
Political correctness clip, but there was just a lot of them. He said it like it was, and it was just a great. Great time though, with him. His stuff was like, I always saw the insight. It was a sad thing when he died, it was, but I think he knew he was going out, and he gave a little more push to the needle there, so to speak.
What's his name?
Yeah.
George Carlin. Oh, George Carlin. Yeah, Google it in there. George Carlin talks about the New World Order, talks about NWO. It'll come out. That's the best one. When he talks about the schools suck. And education sucks, and that we're owned by the people. It's great. It's just owned by the.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. And so, like, what I'm saying is just it's so like insane to think that we have all of these changes just thrust upon us, and the White House is bathed in rainbow light. Everybody's putting rainbow on their Facebook page, and it's like, it's like such a psyop, to try to it's terrible. And all they want to do is just move away. Now, look again. I've said this many times. I'm against religion completely. They're all corrupt, but we all have faith in God and everything else. It's like,
well, religion means control.
Religion means control. It's true.
That's what the word means.
Faith is fine, but the idea is that if you can't like, I don't know, how can I put it? It's like you can't force people to accept things.
Well, isn't that what this is all supposed to be? Is about freedom and the right to worship whatever we want to.
Yes, it is.
I mean, that's why they ran from the Vatican and the Jesuits of Europe.
No, that is the truth. So, this country was based on that freedom, and then that freedom is fine. For, like I said, like if you want to worship a turnip, I'm fine with that. Hey, look, there was a Satanist on. What's her name had a Satanist on last night. They wanted to put a Satan. They wanted to take. They had the Ten Commandments taken down, and I think it was in Oklahoma or someplace, because one of these satanic temples they were threatening to put a Baphomet up there, And actually, Megyn Kelly had him on last night. I heard the interview, and it was really freaking weird, But that's my point. They're Satanists, I'm like, yeah, I'm a Satanist, and this is my church and whatever, so that they have the right to do that. But
as long as you don't hurt anyone.
Exactly. As long as you don't hurt anyone, right? Let's see that.
Yeah. Then freedom has to be for everyone.
Freedom has to be for everyone. So the point is that you can't. It's not saying that, well, we're going to, change the whole concept of traditional life. I don't know how else to put it. It's like I've never had a problem with. I have friends that are homosexuals. I have lots of friends that are gay, actually. And one of my cousins is gay, and it's like they're great people. But honestly, I think the average homosexual honestly doesn't think that they need to have gay marriage as long as they have the same civil things. Like, why do they want to change?
Yeah.
The concept is like, if you need to call it marriage, you're changing the whole framework of
Howard, it's like
what
has been
said,
for everybody's
since the
talking
beginning
about
of time.
Rainbows on their pictures instead of Greece and real things.
Oh, that's another thing. True, yeah, it's a distraction. It's a big, but it's a terrible type of distraction because if you talk like that, you sound like you're some sort of an insensitive, louse or whatever, or a bigot, and it's got nothing to do with that. It's just that it's like what on the other side would make it like provincial to do that? How can you just like I see that. It's again also the population of it is like you really they're maximizing this propagandized vision.
Howard,
when like what?
Did you see what they did to the White House?
Oh yeah, they put it in rainbow light. I know. I'm just saying.
Well, Obama's gay, and a bunch of them were.
Yeah, Obama and what's her transgender Michelle the transgender.
Yeah, Michael.
Oh God! But I'm just saying, it's just I'm look. It's smaller. It's a smaller population. There's no justification. It's like. That, and it's also fine to let them want to have the same benefits. I'm all for that, but why do you have to call it marriage?
They should have the same benefits, like any couple.
Exactly, but why?
But I thought marriage was like a religious thing and going to a church.
It's supposed to be. As far as the way that it was, it is an institution of the church, big time. It's a sacrament.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's an interesting.
Kind of weird.
Yes, and then the Pope is saying, it's okay. So not to worry about it so much.
Openly a Jesuit.
I know.
So.
Oh, it's crazy, man. It's like I said, it's just we're making light of it, but it's really serious. It's not things are really.
Have to, because if not, you're just going to cry and not want to leave your house.
I know, it's crazy, because it's just moving. The wheels are spinning so fast, and then all of these economies, Greece is falling apart. People don't know what to do. The whole European, Greece is, they're going to steal their wealth, and the whole euro zone is going to collapse, and they'll have to come up with a new currency again. And then if they can throw us in the mix, there goes the world currency, and there goes that.
And then it'll probably go to like what you were talking about before with was it BRICS? Brazil, Russia,
BRICS,
India, China.
BRICS, yep, and China and Indonesia, yep. Yep.
Which again is West versus East,
Yep.
basically.
It is West versus East. That's right. And I think it's coming, and I think we're in it. I think it's like at that point. And who knows? I mean, who knows what these markets are just like? It's crazy. They're up and then they're down, and they're up and they're up and they're down and down. It's just, but down by big numbers. 300 points. I mean, this is like there's no
Consistency.
Consistency. There's the right word. Yeah. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable, man. And it's coming. I prepared for it. We talked about it years ago because it was we talked about it. It was they knew that they would put a Band-Aid on this economic problem, and it would just be a much bigger problem. And that's probably why they did it. As bad as it was, that was nothing compared to what's going to happen this time. Oh, no, they're going to just say, we could never see it. The Bank of International Settlements, last week, I think I reported this. They reported that there is nothing that can stop a world economic banking meltdown. Nothing.
Oh, yeah.
They said it. It was reported on Reuters. Bank of International Settlements, the belly of the beast of the New World Order. The heart of the New World Order. So, I mean, we got some shit down the road coming that's going to be unbelievable. Civil unrest, people out of work, and all this debt in trillions, and people not, how much can they tax? How much property can they take?
Well, that's why it's important to keep reaching out to other good people.
Yeah.
And everybody has to build a nice little community of good people that come together and help each other because times are going to get tough.
They are.
And if at least you have the truth with you, then you could educate the people around you and be the light that helps everyone when something happens. So people don't fall for the next whatever happens.
Oh, whatever happens and they're going to try to sell you, don't buy it. Period.
Exactly.
That's the easiest way to put it.
And it's going to be bad to try to make it where people are going to beg for the government.
Oh, but they're going to beg. They're going to beg for the New World Order to rescue them. Absolutely beg on their knees, giving their children, selling their children into slavery for it.
Well,
it's true. It's sad. It's sad because look. Let's face it. I gauge that maybe 10 to 12, possibly a little bit more of the population in this country is awake. Knows what's going on. I mean, that's the majority of
it's
people.
Rising.
The majority. I'd
say that a lot more people actually heard of it.
Oh yeah, now people know about it, but they put it on.
They don't want to get involved.
Well, the whole thing is they put it
there subconsciously.
I don't know. I know you don't have cable, but I do, and I just watch it because it's just really great to see the propaganda and how the mind control they put people under. But they talk about the New World Order. They talk about the ancient stuff. What we were talking about when we started doing the shows back in 2010 or 11, whatever. I don't remember exactly what it was. 11, I think it was. That they never had a show. They wouldn't talk about the New World Order. Wouldn't be on like the History Channel. Now they have shows about the New World Order and the Denver airport and all this stuff. And they put a spin on it, to sort of discredit it, And they've been playing it for a long time, the last couple of years, actually, I noticed. And more and more shows about it. And about the, nothing's being talked about the Illuminati families. They don't talk about that, but just about anything else gets that sort of a New World Order spin to it that they can accept, the propaganda story, the cover story.
And the thing that I want to say, and I've always been saying it, is the alien thing, too. That it's just
Jesus is an alien. Everything's an alien.
The History Channel should be called the Alien Channel.
It should be called the Alien Channel. It's true. Jesus was an alien. Everything was an alien. We came from aliens. We're aliens.
Well, I had my theory that I'm still sticking to, and I'll keep saying to people what I think, that it's not ancient aliens. Change the L to an S, and it was the ancient Asians. And that's what I personally believe in my research.
Well, you do a lot of that ancient history research. You mean the Asian
culture? It was an alien. It was advanced people that were here.
That were here.
And there was a destruction just like the Bible and 200 stories all over the planet of every culture talking about it.
Is that why Asia has such like a vast history of medicines and
Yeah,
science
and,
math.
And when people talk about the builders, and they're looking for it to be
builders,
little
right.
gray aliens from far away.
Oh, no.
Look at the Asians who, like 2,000 years ago, were building the Great Wall of China.
Right.
Okay, the Great Wall of China would go from New York to California, and,
Hey,
and be really wide and high.
Maybe that would keep the illegal aliens out. That'd be a good.
But I mean, these people
Donald Trump
obviously
wants to build one.
knew how to build.
Donald Trump wants to build one. He wants to. If he becomes president, he's going to build a Great Wall of
Well,
China.
let him pay for it.
No, he's talking about having Mexico pay for it. I like that, actually.
As long as it ain't us paying.
Yeah, no, I hear that. No, but who knows? Because they're all criminals. As I said in the video, it's like the elections are all rigged, and if you really are getting some traction, they find ways to lose votes. They find ways to distort figures.
At this point, I think everybody should just basically accept that everything is controlled.
Everything is controlled and corrupt, and if you're not part of the game, forget about it. You're one of the victims, and you're one of the ones they're slow killing or dissecting or whatever else they do as they continue this depopulation program, which I always I almost talk about it every show because it's happening. Every time you watch your TV shows, every time you watch TV, you'll see that there's all of these new drugs. Some new drug comes on the market, and that new drug causes cancer, it causes heart failure, it causes sudden death. But don't worry. Ask your doctor. And it's more and more, and it's like people are just so conditioned to it. It's like the doctor will say, oh, yeah, do you want to take Xeljanz? Oh, yeah, I saw it on TV. That's great. Yeah, take some Xeljanz. Okay, good. So it becomes like candy, and realizing that the doctors just prescribe it because if some of doctors, if they reach a certain level, they actually get dinners and benefits. I mean, you can look this stuff up. I'm not making this stuff up. Drug companies do unbelievable things.
They're the real drug dealers that should be in jail.
They're the real drug dealers that should be in jail. And they cause more deaths. At least 150,000 American deaths are caused by just pharmaceutical drugs properly taken. And a total of 450,000 Americans die every year from medical treatment, properly administered medical treatment, what considers to be normal, proper dosages, proper procedures. And that's a fact. Nobody talks about that. They worry about gun control killing 35,000 people. Or they worry about whatever agenda they can tie some number to that suits them, instead of the real numbers, the real realities of what's going on. And then the fact that there is an overpopulation of older folks that they're just pretty much, like a T4 program. They're getting rid of the old people. They're pumping them up with drugs in the nursing homes, and a higher percentage of them are dying of kidney failure because they're given all these different pharmaceutical drugs. They're cash cows. They just literally are soaking them up with drugs.
They want to suck their money dry before they leave.
Exactly. It's unbelievable, and it's horrible.
It's hard for people. I don't understand how people who look into this stuff can't basically just say, this is evil versus good. There's no other way for me to really look at this. When you research this stuff, how could you not say that this is not just evil?
Well,
that there isn't some demonic power or evil power.
There's no doubt about it. I wrote a piece going over the mysteries too. It's called "The Secrets of the Ages," the spiritual battle of good versus evil, and that's what it is. It's a spiritual battle of good versus evil. It's not a religious battle, but it is a spiritual battle, and it's esoteric, and it's also very, very material and very real. But it's there.
It's hard for me to say that it's fake when you see all this evidence of evil.
The evidence is everywhere. Evil lives abound. I mean, the stories are unbelievable. What happens to people? Did you hear about? And then there are stories that the press doesn't. If it doesn't suit the agenda, like the minute that a black person is killed by a white person or something like that, you never hear about it. But a white person kills a black person, forget about it. It gets all over the news. It causes riots. Meanwhile, there's some horrible, horrible truths. And then what about blacks against blacks? It doesn't suit the agenda. You can't report that either. So it's just terrible. Well,
that's why everybody should stop watching that
mainstream
program
news.
TV and be listening to shows like this and stuff on the internet and doing their own.
Doing their own research, yeah, absolutely, and certainly
that's another big difference now, Howard, than when we first started. There's so many people on Facebook or whatever that are constantly posting, and people trying to talk about the stuff.
Oh, that's true. There's
You know?
no doubt about it. It's grown exponentially, and hey, the channels have grown. The YouTube channels. When we started, we were getting a couple of thousand views a month if we were lucky, and now this channel's doing 100,000 views a month. The two channels.
It's awesome.
Yeah. So it's good.
Well, you work hard, Howard.
Yeah, well, we got a lot of history there, man. A lot of shows. I just keep going and keep doing it, and just reaching people. So it is working. There's no doubt about it. But I also think that's why the pressure cooker has been, put on high, and I think they're moving things along faster because people are waking up, and
Yeah, both sides are getting ready.
They're running out of time, just like we're running out of time here on United FM Radio. We got a couple of minutes here left to go. Just any closing thoughts that you had there, Vinny?
Just, people, this definitely seems like good versus bad, and, try to find good people and stick together and build communities and become friends with your neighbors and get ready for what's coming, because it's coming.
Oh, it is coming. It's coming. Thank you, brother, and we'll keep in touch. We'll try to do some more shows together again.
Yeah,
and
I definitely will get in touch with Carl at some point.
Yeah, we'll work something out and get him on again either next week or sometime in the future, or do a pre-recorded thing or something like that. Whatever we need to do, sure.
Okay.
That's great. Hey, Keith, Melissa, thank you again for all your help here, getting this truth out here for us here on UnitedFMRadio.com. So, as we move along to next week, I'll cover the Truth War incident, but you can read about it on howardnema.com. Check out Truth Talk News. Subscribe on YouTube to the two channels, Truth Talk News and Truth Talk News Live. And until next Thursday, 3 to 5 Eastern Standard Time, here on United FM Radio, I bid you farewell. Have a great week. God bless you all.